Good evening. I just wanted to have an evening chat. So many things are running through my head. Um, I'm what you would consider middle aged at this point of my life. And what's going on in the world today, if you would have told me this, oh God, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, I would have said no way. 20 years ago, I'd have laughed at you. But things are going in a very, very, very bad direction. We've got problems with parents not allowed to be parents and raise their children as they see accordingly, of course, with kindness and decency. Society is now overtaking that. Um, they say that some of these populations are a very small percentage, but they're what's overtaking our mass media and our shows and televisions and cartoons now for children. So this very supposedly small percentage is in control of what we see and what our children see. It's coming into the schools. Years ago we lost things in the schools. Bibles, God we trust, things like that being questioned. Christmas was becoming a problem. I know these things are based on Christianity, but the morals and values that they stood for, whether you believed in the religion or not, were not bad. They weren't bad because society needs a compass, a guideline to go by. And with the loss of that, we can see that everything is going in many different directions, and I'm worried. Now, some that I've spoken to have faith that it'll correct itself and we'll go back to more conservative ways. But I don't think we're going to go back to the way it was. I just don't see it. It's speeding up where a child can be in a bar room and dress in women's clothes and claim to be a drag queen and have money thrown at him, and that's okay. Uh, I just don't understand how that's even a possibility, but it's applauded. Um, Sex education has gone to the extreme. Now they're bringing in everything. It used to be that we would, we threw out religion and we based things on science and evolution. Now science is being thrown out the window to where, gender is a feeling and no longer a biological fact. Uh, I, I, I don't even have any sort of explanation or words for that to even quite understand that thought process. To be gay is to be gay, but I've known plenty of gay people who've had no intention of changing their gender. But these children are being pushed for this, and they aren't even mentally ready for these kind of decisions. And I'm not going to go on and on about that because how do you have a conversation about something that's just so bizarre? Just don't understand. I hope that corrects itself. In Canada, they're taking children away from their parents for that reason. Um, it it's becoming very, very scary. And you see the pushback in states like Alabama today talking about no abortion at all. And we're pushing back with the extremes in another direction. And there's just no common sense happy medium anywhere. It's just all these extremes. And when you go to the extremes on anything, there is a tipping point. I mean, even in physics, you put too much weight on one side and eventually it's going to give. And then there's no coming back. It falls. And I'm afraid we're in for a fall. I don't know if it'll be sparked by economics. I don't know if it'll be sparked by a civil war, a world war. There's so many things that could just be the triggering point. And there's a lot of triggering going on. So you don't know where it's going to spark and then eventually explode and spread. The racial issues are just out the box. When I was growing up, and you can hear my accent, I'm originally from the South. I lived in different parts of the country. But I thought we were making progress. I thought things were moving towards maybe one day, like Martin Luther King said, we wouldn't see the color of each other's skin. We would judge people by the content of their character. It's not happening. It's not happening at all. And the only ones who can be racist are whites. When I see racism coming from all directions, from other cultures, it's just at a fever pitch. And women are no longer special. I mean, a man can have a baby now. Now, let's not, biologically it's a woman, but they identify as a man. It's just absolutely insane. And I don't know how it's going to come back. And I'm worried for my children. I'm worried if I have grandchildren one day. I'm really, really worried. I don't know how to, you want to fix it. You want to make everything you want okay. You want a bright future for them. The only reason we're sustaining down here in the South is because, people who are Southern tend to adhere to family, manners, taking care of their neighbors. What used to be normal everywhere. We're going to be the last stronghold in the United States. We'll be the South. And it'll trickle down here slower. But once California starts and they're knee deep in it, it takes about 10 to 20 years to get this way. And kind of like what you see in the education system. Whatever California does and fails at, we pick it up and then we fail at it a decade later. I lived out there. I know. I saw what was going on when I lived out there, and some of the good things came this way and some of the bad things came this way, but it takes a while. But with the way things are accelerating, it might be less than a decade. So down here we're kind of in a bubble, but eventually it's going to get popped because, people don't stay where they were born anymore. People are more, they travel more and move to different places, so they'll bring it with them. And I just don't know how we're going to hang on and where the breaking point's going to be. But unfortunately, I think it's going to break. And I'm worried for our country and our citizens. We're being influxed by illegal immigrants. We have Mexican Americans who've been here, and they're even livid about all this. It has to be done right, and it has to be done legally. Otherwise, things tip in the wrong direction too fast. We can't sustain taking care of all of these people, plus the people in the United States that we're not taking care of. Look at the tent cities in California, the veterans on the streets. The homelessness even down here is getting worse. They're at every exit off the interstate. And they used to not be here 5 years ago, but they're here now. It's going to get bigger, and it's going to get worse. And it's a slow process to where people don't really notice because they're not watching the news, or they're only watching certain things that feed what they believe in, or I don't know. But it doesn't seem anybody's really noticing like they should be. I'm paying attention. Maybe I'm paying too much attention. Somebody tell me I'm worrying for nothing. Somebody tell me that everything will be okay and we'll have a decent society again one day. We'll have news that actually tells the news instead of their opinion. But I just don't see it. And I'm frightened for the future generation of children that are going to grow to be adults. And some say that the younger generation right now is more conservative, more, I guess you would call middle of the road, but today they would be considered really far right. But, and that one day when they get into places of position of power, that maybe it'll turn its way back. But I don't know if we're going to make it. I just don't know if we're going to make it. They try to infringe on our Second Amendment. When you have children who complain and are taken away from their parents for not being able to be the gender that they were not born to be at the age of 5, 4, 3, it sounds to me like the children who turned in their parents to the Nazi regime. It's very similar because they're not going along with whatever the program is. When you have a society like that, you're in big trouble. Big trouble. And I'd like, I barely even watch TV anymore for that reason. And I should keep myself off the YouTube, but I mean, if I really want to see what's going on in the world, I need to look at different channels and have discernment and see what's really going on. And so when shit really hits the fan, I'm not going to be surprised. And I'm going to look at some others and say, how dare you act surprised? I mean, to have the nerve to be surprised. But as long as we're all okay in our own little bubbles and nothing's affecting you directly, you just think it's never going to make it here. You know, that's just those crazy people out in California. That's just those, people up north or those are those people in Canada, or those are those people over there. Well, eventually it's going to get here. It's going to be here. And then once it reaches here, it's going to be way too late. It's going to be too late. If any of you pray, pray. Pray. Because you speak out on any of this stuff, you're just going to be called names and ostracized, and, because you don't have the opinion of what the program is. You need to go along with the program. This is society. This is the way it is now. You need to be kind to everybody. You do. When adults want to make their decisions, they can make their decisions. But now we're talking about children. And when you start messing with the children, you'll definitely destroy your society. So, it's my opinion. And I hope I'm wrong. I really do. Because I don't want to have guilt for having my children in this kind of world. Have a good evening.